Hello, everyone. I am Alex Lim, your host, and welcome to AuthorStory, the home of authors and stories that matter. This episode's featured guest is Susana Stoica, author of Healing with a Loving Heart Discover the Power of Energy Healing. So, Susana, welcome to AuthorStory. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Alex.
You're welcome. Well, first off, before anything else, your background. I mean, you have a PhD in computer engineering. You've got something like 3 decades worth of experience in defining and using advanced technologies. Now, I don't want to sound sexist, but it is a fact that there aren't that many women who are in the fields of hard science and engineering. What got you interested in walking this path in the first place?
It's very interesting. Actually, all my life kind of pushed me towards being a healer who is specialized in brain injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I got into engineering was because I was very interested in how the brain works.
Uh-huh.
And originally, I was thinking between becoming a doctor and becoming an engineer. My
Mm-hmm.
father was an engineer, and I was repairing everything around the house by age 12.
Okay, okay.
So I was competing with him. Uh, and then one day, when I was discussing with a cousin, he said to me, "Do you want to see what medicine is all about?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, I would like to. So
Mm-hmm.
he said, okay, I will take you into the university to see what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to the back door
Mm-hmm.
and to sneak in. And he says, are you sure you want to see what
Mm-hmm.
is it? And I said, why are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, because you are supposed to cut the people into pieces
Uh-huh.
in anatomy.
Okay.
And I said, okay, it's not for me. I want to work with a living. And so I went into engineering.
I
And
see.
interestingly enough, when I was in the third year, I was offered to be the first promotion of engineers
Mm-hmm.
who learn computer design.
Mm-hmm.
Now, computer design was close to what I was interested in, how the brain works,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
because the computers kind of think.
Mm-hmm.
So I immediately grabbed on, and actually my thesis was in designing computers with circuits that mimic the neural cells.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into computer design. Of course, computers who function like neural cells
Mm-hmm.
came about a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
But I was part in my country of origin, Romania,
Mm-hmm.
of the group which designed the first commercial computer.
Mm-hmm.
And so years passed, and I was working in computer design, worked on developing advanced technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And one day, my husband was really sick, very bad backache.
Uh-huh.
So I did, because I don't know how much you know about proud European males that don't go to the doctor.
Uh-huh.
And so I decided I had to do something because he was really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me into going for a healing course.
Mm-hmm.
That particular method of healing, it's called polarity.
Mm-hmm.
And during the course, as we were practicing on each other, my hands took off, started moving by themselves. I
Mm-hmm.
completely lost control of my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was done, the person I was working on told me that she was really sick with a flu.
Mm-hmm.
And after the flu, she never could breathe again
Mm-hmm.
properly.
Mm-hmm.
And doctors tried all sorts of medications and tried all sorts of tests, and they had no idea what was happening with her
Right.
or how to treat. But after I worked with her, she was fine,
Uh-huh.
completely recovered.
Mm-hmm.
As you can imagine, this whole story really scared me. And it took
Okay.
me a while to figure out what I did.
Okay.
And eventually, doctors found out about what I was doing because my son became very sick. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when I decided to use that miraculous whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And my son got, he had a tumor on his adrenals.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time we went for X-ray, the tumor disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And when they repeated the tests that showed very high concentration of cortisol in his body,
Mm-hmm.
the cortisol was back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor told us that something like this doesn't happen.
Uh-huh.
And uh, eventually I told him what I did,
Mm-hmm.
and he started recommending clients to me.
Okay,
And that's how
interesting.
my career, second career started. And I was doing it in parallel
Uh-huh.
for quite a while.
Okay. All right.
Now that I retired from engineering, I do only healing.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's a great story, and I'm happy that the doctor encouraged you. I mean, I think most doctors they'd kind of like, okay, all right, fine, you heal, okay, and they might have
Yeah, they
even have
don't,
discouraged
they
you.
discard it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good on you. I mean, congratulations, that doctor. I mean, he really encouraged you. Okay, then Susan.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, when I got to Michigan, when I live right now, I
Mm-hmm.
was part of a medical practice.
Mm-hmm.
I was helping them diagnose complicated illnesses, because when a person doesn't go to doctor in time and lets his health go down more and more and more,
Mm-hmm.
uh, actually it's very difficult for the doctor to figure out what started first, that what
Right.
went bad first.
Right.
But with healing, you can at least I can see kind of a timestamp of what went down first and what was pulled down second, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do the right test and find out what was the first thing that went wrong, and you kind of treat the first thing,
Mm-hmm.
people get healthy much faster.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. So okay. So you work in conjunction with doctors. Okay. All right. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So Susanna, let me get a little bit to the basics. For you, what is your own personal definition of healing? What is it all about?
Believe it or not, healers actually don't heal.
Okay.
We are born, everybody, every living being is born with an energy field.
Mm-hmm.
And this energy field is inside the physical body, and it also around the body.
Mm-hmm.
And when this energy field is working properly,
Mm-hmm.
the innate program for which we are born with to recover from illnesses works perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
But due to stresses in our lives, traumas, eventually this program cannot work properly anymore. So the
Mm-hmm.
role of the healer is to balance the energy field, and that way allows that self-healing program to kick in again.
Okay, so this is all about balancing the energy field, and as you say, balancing the energy field rather than actually, healing the physical body itself.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, you've had personal experience in this. So, what's it like for a lot of us? We haven't done energy healing. So, what is it like in your experience what's the experience like when you heal someone using energy? What's it like for you?
The generally healers are either seeing the energy field or
Mm-hmm.
perceiving it with their hand.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly perceive it with my hand,
Mm-hmm.
but if necessary, it kind of lights up the body, and
Mm-hmm.
I can even see inside the bones and organs, and I can work with it.
Mm.
As long as I can find the imbalance, because I check first of all the whole energy field of the person, because the energy field vibration is very personal. It's like a fingerprint.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when I check most of it, I will see what is the typical vibration of that field, the combination of frequencies in that field.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
in certain areas, I will find some things that are not exactly perfect. Like If you have pus in an area, the field will be thicker. If you have a broken bone, the field itself is broken, and you have the healer has to repair it. If you have temperature, it might be, or inflammation in general, you will perceive heat as a healer. So when I perceive this area, I kind of rework the weave of the energy field till the whole energy field feels the same. Also, an interesting thing to know is that when a person is sick, the frequency of the field becomes lower. The field vibrates slower, which means it has less energy to recover. Also, the amplitude of the field is lower. So we feel tired. We want to rest because we don't have the energetic makeup to function properly.
Okay, okay. All right. So, yeah. So, my next question then would be like, I mean, you work with energy, as you mentioned. You work with balancing energy. So, how does this energy work to heal the physical body?
The way it works is that I look at the field, I perceive where the problems are, and I start working. Now, if it's a child, the children's energy field take up the energy work very fast. Sometimes a single session is enough.
Okay.
When somebody is older or the illness was in the field for a longer time, then it takes multiple sessions. And the reason being that we have what is doctors called homeostasis, which means a balanced working of the field. Now, the field is like an automatic regulator. If the field knows this is my healthy state, it tries to maintain that healthy state. But when you are sick for a long time, it says, oh, it's here for a long time, this particular state. I have to maintain this state.
Sort of like,
yeah, so basically the healer has to nudge the field back in the healthy state by teaching the field this is really the good normal.
Okay, okay. So it's sort of like the body's energy reverts to, well, as you probably call a new normal, you know. So
exactly.
the sick state maintained. Okay, okay, right. And this is, I mean, this is if, and I mean, you know from experience that I mean, this is pretty powerful stuff. If it could heal a body in ways that conventional healing regimes cannot.
It's very powerful. Actually, healing as a method of diagnosis, sometimes it's much more sensitive than our technical equipment, our medical equipment. For example, especially in brain injuries, they can be detected with MRI at CAT scan only if you have a major bleeding or a major swelling. By that time also people usually are out of it, or a broken bone. But as a healer, one can detect much easier nuances. So if, for example, let me give you a case.
Okay.
I had a woman referred to me by her doctor. Okay. This woman had a problem of having seizures only when she had a period. Other times of the month it was perfectly okay. Now, because I didn't know what to do with her, they put her on some medication to stop her cycle. She was 28 years old.
All right.
And she wanted kids. and
Uh-huh.
that's why she couldn't have kids with that medication.
Right,
And
right,
it was risky to get pregnant when you have seizures.
right.
So when she came to me, I checked her field, and immediately I felt at the back of her head uh, change of the field, typical of hit to the back of the head.
Ah.
And it was a bruising
Mm-hmm.
on the back of the head. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, didn't you have just before you started this problem
Mm-hmm.
a car injury where you went into another car or another car bumped you from the back? He
Mm-hmm.
says, yeah, how do you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know, you have a bruising.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked with her, I think, about 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to get out the swelling.
Mm-hmm.
She was able to get off the medication,
Mm-hmm.
and she has 3 beautiful grown kids today.
Wow. Wow. That's great. That's great. All right.
So that couldn't have been the MRI cannot see bruising.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right. Well, all right. That's definitely that definitely shows the power of energy healing. Okay, so onto the book. I mean, Healing with a Loving Heart. What made you decide to write this book? I mean, you could have gone on, you know, just healing as you were. What made you decide to write this?
I wanted uh, people to actually know that there is hope of healing when mainstream medicine stops.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, I had multiple cases of ALS, and
Okay.
ALS is considered as being terminal
Uh-huh.
by mainstream medicine,
Right.
and it's a terrible way to die.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, people cannot breathe anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and it's terrible.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is interesting over the years in my practice, I found out that most of the cases, at least from what I have seen, are not traditional ALS. Traditional ALS can be detected only when people die, because
Okay.
it's traditional ALS is when neural connections are broken.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the cases I have seen were
Mm-hmm.
either poisoning,
Mm-hmm.
metal poisoning,
Okay.
or different chemical substances,
Okay.
or an imbalance on trace, severe unbalance in trace mineral in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, I met a 36 years old yoga teacher
Okay.
who was diagnosed with ALS.
Okay.
And when I tested her, I said, you know, you have hardly any trace mineral in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And she went back, she was tested, she corrected it, and she was fine.
Okay, okay. All right. So this is not just I mean this energy healing not just consists of just the healing itself, but also you can find out, you can detect what is what's missing.
Yes. So, because I am not going to live forever, I am
Okay.
aware of that.
Right.
I decided to write the book.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the book, every chapter has at the end
Mm-hmm.
a list of things that people can do to go to ask their doctor to do certain tests, or if
Mm-hmm.
they can do certain things themselves
Mm-hmm.
to offer doctors more information so the doctor can provide a better diagnosis, a more accurate diagnosis,
Mm.
past what normally the medical practice would do.
I see. Okay, okay. So I mean, the advice you give them, this is then the kind of advice that people who don't necessarily need to go to a healer like yourself to get their conditions worked on.
Yes,
Okay.
Actually, if they use what are at the end of each chapter,
Mm-hmm.
if they don't believe that a healer can help them, they can just go with that advice.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if they work with a healer, they
Mm-hmm.
will get faster, better, because the healer will work also on the energetic part of the uh, problem, but it's not absolutely necessary.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. So interesting, interesting. And you know, I have to give you credit for actually for, wanting to your patients, if they don't really believe in energy healing, they can go the traditional, doctor, technical medical route.
I know that I met in my practice, as you can imagine, a lot of people who were really scared about healing.
Right, right.
Uh, they uh, even a friend of mine one day, I was talking to him, and he didn't know that I was a healer. It
Okay.
was an engineering world
Okay.
friend, and he started talking to me that his daughter is sick, and I told him what to do, and
Mm-hmm.
it just came out normally out of my mouth. I didn't even realize what I was doing. Then he
Okay.
told me what is the problem with his mom, and I told him what easy things he could do it to help his mom.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And then I don't know, he was having some problems, and suddenly he stopped and he said, "If I wouldn't know you, I would think that you are the devil."
Uh-huh. Okay.
And I asked him, "Why would I be the devil?" And he said, "Because you are giving me so much information."
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And I said, "So what is that about if it's a compassionate information giving
Mm-hmm.
with the intent to help you?" He says,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, but the devil works that way. He
Uh-huh.
will snare you in with good stuff and
Mm-hmm.
then take your soul."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I can assure you I am not taking your soul." He says,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, I know."
All right.
So I want to help people.
Mm.
I understand that some people are fearful, and I hope that some people, by uh, reading my book, Healing with a Loving Heart,
Mm-hmm.
will get more comfortable with people who do healing, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe they will read even my book of Reluctant Healer,
Right.
which explains in detail what healing is.
Right. Okay. Okay. All right. So, Susanna, next question I'd like to ask. This energy, this healing energy. I mean, you're definitely a user of healing energy. Uh, can anyone harness this energy to like work on themselves, or maybe, if not to heal themselves, maybe help them become more energetic?
Absolutely. In my book, Reluctant Healer,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, which was written because people were asking me a lot of questions about healing,
Mm-hmm.
I give at the end of the book some exercises that anyone can do
Mm.
very, very safely.
Mm-hmm.
And those exercises are for getting the excess energy out of the body. When people are tired,
Mm-hmm.
usually they have kind of a static energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start moving the static energy, they immediately feel better.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I give an exercise which people can um, do in order to help somebody who has a pain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Got that. Okay. So my next question, Susanna. I mean, I'm sure you're very much aware of what's going on in the world right now. COVID-19 and stuff like that. Have you had any clients or who have gone to you with this condition?
Absolutely. I found that very interestingly, COVID-19 responds much better to alternatives.
Uh huh.
Um, in the beginning, whatever this virus was, because it didn't look anything energetically like any other illness I ever encountered,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh, was responding. I was people who came to me immediately as I felt the first symptoms. I
Mm-hmm.
could get them on their feet with healing combined with alternatives like vitamins, minerals, in about a week. And I found very interestingly, if you look at the regular flu, if if 10 people come to me with a certain strain of flu, it will be always located in the same part of the energy field, and it will require supplements which are the same for everybody. Not in the case of COVID.
I see.
It was different for everyone. It depended what was the weakest point in that person. Now, it's interesting that since the beginning, I worked in the beginning and I am still working with people with COVID. Right now, COVID is not as easy to catch like it was in the beginning. In the beginning, it was really very rapid. It could get into anyone. Now it's about at the level of regular seasonal flu or less, but you can still get it from any kind of bodily fluids. And one of the things that people don't realize, they can get it if they drink or eat after somebody else, which happens at parties, by the way.
Right.
As we well know. So from what I am seeing right now, COVID is not as bad as it used to be. But of course, if you have other problems, health problems, of course, it's a big problem. So the best thing to do right now is to make sure that you don't get it. And it's measures like wearing the mask is very important. Washing your hand when you get into the house immediately. It's very important. Also, something that people don't realize is keeping a positive outlook, keeping in touch with people are very important. Breathing clean air is very important. Why is breathing clean air is so important? Because viruses and bacteria don't like oxygen.
Okay.
So if you do daily, go outside, take 10 deep breaths several times a day, you go a long way of protecting yourself or your immune system. Also, when a person is upset, when a person is down, when a person feels lonely, the energy field vibration goes down, which means we have less resources of recovering if we get sick, and we get sick easier. So keep in touch with your family and friends. You have Zoom. Thank God we have Zoom, we have FaceTime, we have Skype. We can keep in touch and see our loved ones, even if we can't hug them. You can send a flower to somebody. Somebody could send you a card. Keep in touch and look for things to be happy about. It will go a long way to keep yourself healthy.
Right. Okay, well, great words of advice. Okay, so Susana, I mean, this is a very interesting topic, and I think we could talk about this for hours, but this interview is winding down. So in the last minute or so of this interview, are there any words of wisdom you'd like to share to inspire our listeners?
I want to know your listeners to know that one thing, if I would like them to remember, is that if your doctor tells you that there is no hope, look around for alternative doctors, for alternative practitioners. They might offer you a way to recover your health. And keep in mind that if you keep in touch with people, if you volunteer once the COVID is gone, you get so much positive feedback. It's so good for you, not only for the person who you are helping, but the love that comes back to you reflects in your energy field. So keep healthy, look for alternatives, and help others to help yourself.
All right. Okay, nice. Okay, so great words of wisdom right there. Great. All right, then. So, in closing, then, our guest this episode is Susana Stoica. Her book is Healing with a Loving Heart. Discover the Power of Energy Healing, and you can find it on Amazon. So, Susana, thank you very much for being with us on Author Story. It was fantastic being able to speak with you.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex, and I hope the listeners got something useful out of our interview.
Well, definitely, yeah. I'm sure they will. All right, everyone. So check out Healing with a Loving Heart. And also feel free to hit that subscribe button for all the people and stores we'll cover in the future. So catch you all next time on Author Story, the home of authors and people with stories that matter.